to be able to relate on the basis of, okay, where are we now? What is going on? Because even if they don't come to you, as I said earlier, because of maybe immunity, they've gone to him. They've asked for his statement, and he's said he's given his statement. But since then, it seems as if there's been silence.
Naturally, I'll always be in touch with him, and we've spoken several times. But the most important thing here is to recognize the fact that we know that it's a frame-up. It's coming on the heels of the discordant tunes between the police and the Senate. And I thought that would use the opportunity to bridge up the differences, because the police is expected to be able to be positioned to give confidence to the citizenry so that we can take out this mutual suspicion and allow for, comfort in driving the economy and, of course, for people to live their lives accordingly. Because as it is now, I don't know what kind of relationship we expect to see between the security agencies in the state and the state government, knowing fully well that there is heavy dependence on the state government for support in resources to ensure adequate protection of lives and properties. So you see, this whole thing is also, to the extent that, yes, it looks the way it is, but you see, it's not comforting to be in this kind of situation. And I think that we should face the most critical part of this business.
Which is the robbery.
Which is the robbery. And what led the policeman, who was gainfully employed as a police officer under the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, to engage in robbery?
He was dismissed, actually. He was dismissed because the information we have is that he was dismissed from the police before he then took off.
As a result of connivance.
That's right.
Was he a robber before he became a policeman? Who checked this? Now, how did he access his arms? You see, these are very critical questions, because this is the only way we can avoid a future recurrence. Are there other things we need to know that we have not seen or heard that will be germane to ensuring that no future recurrence happens? I think the press should focus on looking at why this man decided to engage in robbery, to the extent that he felt pained to go and slaughter up to 10 to 11 policemen. What injured him in the mind to enable him carry out that, hideous activity? So I think these are very critical issues, because the frame-up has taken the front burner, which is not relevant to the most critical issue that will make confidence return to the people, that will make the economic activity return to the people.
But Your Excellency, at that point, I think maybe there's a need for us to also redirect this so that we can. It's not the policeman who indicted either yourself or the Senate President. There were other people involved in the robbery, apparently. The policeman is alleged, the ex-policeman is alleged to be the gang leader.
Yes.
But there were other people involved. And it is some of those other people who were said in their statements to have mentioned that they work for you and that they work for Dr. Saraki. Of course, in the clips that were shown on television, they made it clear that they did not say that you sent them to go and rob, but that they work for you. They work for you in political activities, which presupposes that if you look at it from another angle, they're trying to get themselves out of trouble by drawing you and Dr. Saraki in. That's another way of looking at it.
Yes.
Now, maybe the question to ask is, first, I'm sure you've seen these people. Do you know them?
In all sincerity, I don't know any of them. Because you see, for the youths that engage in political mobilization, we hardly interface with them. There are different layers of political platforms in the state. And if they happen to be at the grassroots level, it will not be easy for me to interface with them. I know that quite a number of them have benefited from our small and medium enterprise scheme.
Which is what they said.
Yes, which we have made available to all youths in different sectors and traders and, of course, artisans. But to the extent that they claim to be political talks working, I want to assume that these are statements that have been made that have not been tested in the court of law. And until this is done, I still hold my reservations on what they have said to that extent. But I think, again, I cannot create a nexus between being a thug in politics and engagement in armed robbery?
Well, the nexus is that the thuggery is on break because there is no political activity ongoing currently.
Yes.
And that the arms that they were either given or that they procured for the purposes of the thuggery are not being used because that activity is in abeyance at the moment, but that they needed to survive.
But incidentally, he said who gave them the arms.
Yes,
he said the arms were provided by the ex-police officer.
Yes,
and that's why I thought the main focus should be, how did he get those number of arms? How did he get the ammunition? Which armory did he take it from? They were AK-47s. They are not guns that are available on the streets.
Explosives.
Explosives. So how did it get them? So I think these are areas that we should truly give a lot of attention. If we truly want to nip this on the board, depoliticize it, and allow the police to play an apolitical policing activity that will ensure security of lives and properties. Because you see, policing today requires combining it with community policing. How do you create community policing when you create mutual suspicion as a result of allegations like this? The chief executive of a state who is supposed to aid the security agencies in carrying out their responsibilities is suddenly being tied to a criminal activity, and you expect the commissioner of police to freely work with me, require support from me to carry out policing activities. I think it's counterproductive. Yeah. And I think that we should quickly allow, sanity to return to this activity and ensure that justice takes its course. The people of Offa want to see justice. They want to see these criminals brought to book. They want to ensure that they will not see a future recurrence. They want the banks to come back. Banks will not return to where there's insecurity. So I think this is the most critical part of it, which we are concerned with. You see, the frivolities of frame-ups of either the governor or the Senate president is too frivolous for us to look at in terms of the net impact of the activity and the mutual suspicion that has been created. So I think we should take this thing much more seriously and allow justice to take its course. Because as it were, we are driving our self-interest by holding on to the soft areas which presumably are not attached to the robbery activity, but resulting from the face-off, which ordinarily shouldn't even have existed anyway. Because this is not the time for face-offs. This is the time for bridge building. The police needs the Senate presidency. He needs the Senate. He needs the executive. He needs the states. He needs the local government to build bridges and strengthen his activities. I was very elated when I heard that the criminals have been arrested. I thought within a few weeks we'll be seeing them in courts and justice will take its course. As it is today, nobody has mentioned about going to court. And you want the people in Offa to have confidence that the police are doing their jobs and they will not see a future recurrence. I think we should take this thing much more seriously.
Your Excellency, let me take you in another direction. You are in the NPDP, the group known as the NPDP.
Yes.
And during the last congresses of the APC, in Kwara, the reports we have are that there were actually 3 congresses in the state or for the APC. You attended one along with the Senate president, but there were 2 others. And now the NPDP is looking at the situation and saying that they've been marginalized. What is the next move? Are you in agreement that there's problem within the APC? Or that there are disagreements that need to be sorted out?
You see, firstly, let's separate the issues. The Congress that was held in Kwara, the APC Congress that was held, was the only Congress that I was aware of.
That is the one you attended,
yes,
with the Senate president?
The Senate president, where we had representatives of NWC, we had representatives of INEC to witness the activities, and the processes were quite transparent. Votes were casted and counted, and the winners emerged. It was after we left that we heard that there were other congresses. How and where they were convened in all honesty,
you don't know.
I don't know. So to that extent, I want to believe that we had just a Congress in Kwara, to that extent. And I'm not aware the national headquarters of the party got any report of parallel congresses in Kwara. Yes, a few individuals could have gotten together to carry on activities akin to congresses, but I'm not aware it got the nod of the NWC. Now, the issue of the NPDP, just like other legacy parties that formed the APC, they came into APC with expectations, just like any other legacy party. And to the extent that they are feeling short of the expectations and they are getting prepared to go into another dispensation, I feel it's only fair enough for you to sit down and review how far you had gone in the current and ending transition, dispensation, and forge a way forward on the incoming one. I think coming to discuss this can be more auspicious than now, as it will not only correct perceived differences of the past, but also consolidate a way forward for the party to truly forge its way into driving goods and services for the good people of Nigeria. I don't think it's a platform created for people to, vent their angers and move out of a party. No, it's a platform for bringing to the fore expectations and the shortfalls in the expectations, and how do we forge forward